The relationship between African Americans and basketball goes back even further than the NBA itself. In 1902, a basketball game was played in Massachusetts, and it was at that game that one man would change history. Today's episode of History Through Hoops is all about Harry Bucky Lew, the first black man to play professional basketball. Basketball was invented in 1891 by a man named James Naismith. He invented it both as a way of entertaining young boys at his YMCA camp and as a way to help young men get introduced to Christianity through sports. And 7 years prior to the invention of basketball, the first black man to play professional basketball was born. Harry Bucky Lew was born on January 4th, 1884, in the small town of Pawtucketville, Massachusetts. And even before he made history in basketball, he had already come from a family of history. His grandparents' home was a stop on the Underground Railroad. His great-grandfather, Bucky Lew, was a black soldier and freeman who served in the American Revolution. Bucky began playing basketball at his local YMCA in Lowell, Massachusetts in 1898, which was also the year the first professional basketball league, the NBL, was founded. The interesting thing about Lowell, Massachusetts is that while it had a low black population, there was no segregation there. It was at these exhibition games that Bucky's talent really shined. In fact, his Lowell team defeated the MIT basketball team, and at this point, Bucky was just a teenager. So I know I mentioned before that he was a good player, but let me give you a little bit more details of what exactly that looked like for back then. You see, basketball back then was different than how it's played today. Back then, things like double dribbling were legal, and Bucky was the best double dribbler in the league. He was really good at defense, making half-court shots, had good handles, and it's even said that he had this weird passing style where when he didn't have any other option, he would pass the ball seemingly to nowhere, but then he'd be right at that spot that he passed it to. So like, say Bucky was on this side and nobody was over here. Bucky would pass the ball to that side and then somehow be able to catch his own pass. With a talent like Bucky's, who was already becoming known for being a good passer, good defender, and good scorer, eventually somebody would have to pick him up. And that somebody was Jimmy Gray, who's a coach of the Pawtucketville Athletic Club, who played in the New England Basketball League. He signed Bucky to his team in 1902, making Bucky the first black man to be a part of a professional basketball team. Because basketball wasn't as mainstream or as profitable of a sport as it is today, Bucky would support himself by working at his father's dry cleaning business. On November 6, 1902, Bucky would play his first game. Pawtucketville was playing against the Marlboro basketball team. Bucky almost didn't get into this game. In fact, the only reason why he got in was because one of the players on his team was injured. But even with this injured player, Coach Gray still didn't want to play Bucky because he was worried about what the racial attitudes might be at that time. But the fans and the players on the team all pressured Gray to let Bucky in the game. Now, according to him, he didn't play his best game, but nevertheless, just by being there, he made history by becoming the first African American to ever play in a professional basketball game. Or at least that's what he felt, because ironically, the newspapers that covered that game made almost no mention of the fact that Bucky Lew was the first African American to play in the game. And he was kind of confused about that. Bucky was becoming a star in the Pawtucketville basketball scene, and his individual game was improving too. One game, he defended a player named Joe Canuck so well that he barely scored a point. And just to give some context, Joe Canuck was like the second best scorer in the league. Being the first African American to play professional basketball definitely came with its challenges. Take this news article right here. It praised Bucky's play while saying that he was a colored boy who needed Jimmy Gray to help him move along in his career. In fact, Jimmy Gray himself was rumored to have planted bad stories about Bucky to the press, which led to him to play for a new team in Haverhill, which is about 20 minutes away from his hometown. Now, Haverhill had a black population of 3.6% compared to an 80.3% white population. While he was at Haverhill, his defensive profile grew. In one instance, he took a player that averaged 16 points a game, held him to 6. In fact, his defensive skills were so good that his old team even wanted him back. But unfortunately, even though Bucky was on a new team, he still had to deal with some of the same issues. At one game in particular, when Haverhill played against Natick, one of the players on the Natick team, Harry Hugh, who was acknowledged as one of the best players in the league at that time, refused to play against Bucky. When the referee confronted the Natick manager, they said that they were willing to play as long as they, quote, got the black boy off the court. But the fans and the referee weren't having it. Despite that though, Bucky thought that the best thing to do would be to sub out so that the game could continue. But Natick didn't get away with this. In fact, the league decided to fine them $1,500 for their actions. Bucky would begin his second season with Haverhill in 1904. That same year, a gym teacher named Edwin B. Henderson, who was regarded as the grandfather of black basketball, introduced the sport to African Americans at a large scale in Washington, D.C. And this introduction helped lead to what is known as the Black Fives era, which is a time when independent black teams would play basketball against each other. It was sort of like the Negro Leagues, but for basketball. After the New England Basketball League folded, Bucky would go on to play for some teams in Vermont, even winning a league championship there in 1907. After that was over, he would go on to take over his father's dry cleaning business when he was approached with the opportunity to own his own basketball team. But he almost didn't do it. He felt that he had spent too much time away from his wife and he was kind of done with the game. But his wife Florence convinced him that he shouldn't pass up on the opportunity to become the first black man to own a basketball team. And so, that's what he did. With the Lowell 5, Bucky became the first black man to own, manage, and coach a basketball team. As a way of helping to reduce costs, Bucky signed himself to the team as a sixth man. And it helped with the team's popularity too because Bucky's name was still ringing bells in basketball circles.